Hello, everyone, and welcome to Celebrating Cinema, a podcast for the love of cinema. I'm your host, Laura Gommans, and I'm here with our producer, Elliot Bloom.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Before we begin, I'd love to share some cool things going on in the coming weeks here at Lab 111 in Amsterdam. We're doing a dance-along screening of Dirty Dancing, as well as Stop Making Sense, so can't wait for that, gonna dance. Another fun thing we're doing is a late-stage Nicolas Cage double bill, including dinner. And let's not forget our steamy new program called Heat Wave, featuring a lot of super hot summer classics like Do the Right Thing, Dazed and Confused, La Piscine, and so many more. Also playing is our program of Dogme-95 movies celebrating the 30th anniversary of the rebellious Danish movement. And that's one of the things we'll be talking about today. Also, we'll be reviewing Wes Anderson's new release, The Phoenician Scheme, and big news, Twin Peaks is coming to our theater. But first, Elliot, what have you been watching?
I watched Sinners in London
Nice.
at Genesis Cinema, and it was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Very glad to go back to the cinema and have just a very fun experience. Very happy that Ryan Coogler now gets to make his own IP.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I don't want to spoil it because the turn that happens.
Oh, no, I know there's a twist.
It definitely works very well, and I
Yeah.
think it's better for people to go in completely blind. But yeah, it was just very refreshing to have like a fun 2-hour long film that you're completely immersed in. And
I love that it's an African-American genre film. I feel like,
Yeah.
Since Jordan Peele, we've been getting a little bit more of those. And I love that it's an original IP and it's a horror.
yeah,
And
all about blues music. So the sound score is
amazing
also
music.
yeah.
And I do like that a lot of it is not horror. Like the build-up is like very just kind of like, oh yeah, you're just watching these people's lives and kind of almost like a Coen Brothers movie in the first hour. And then you're like, oh, cool.
Even though it does get a bit messy, he does blend a lot of genres together. So like, even though it's kind of a horror, I also felt it was like big musical vibes, like old 50s style kind of musicals, which I was definitely all there for.
Amazing score from Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah.
The Swede. Ludwig Göransson. You gotta always say it like a Swede.
What have you been watching?
Oh
Lara?
my God, The Rehearsal.
What's that?
The Rehearsal is Nathan Fielder. I don't know if you're familiar with the artist of our generation. That is
Clearly
Nathan
not.
Fielder. He's a weird little guy. He's a weird little guy. He did Nathan for You, which is kind of like a hidden camera type. It's such a weird vibe because it feels like a reality show.
Yeah.
But I'm so convinced that it's not. But he used like amateur actors. It's so fucking strange. And then The Rehearsal, basically, season 2 is about him being concerned about airline pilots not communicating well enough, and that being the leading cause of crashes in commercial flights. So basically, he sets out to fix this, but he goes through so many weird turns where he like, oh my God, you have to watch it. He does like the voice style singing competition to make sure that pilots are good at like giving feedback and being likable. It is the strange, I can't even begin to explain without sounding like an insane person. All I can ask is you watch it, and it's beautiful. I think it's 6 episodes on HBO Max, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's a revelation, and I think he is, as I said, the artist of a generation. If you haven't watched The Curse, which is him and Emma Stone and Benny Safdie, that is equally insane.
Okay.
And amazing.
Okay. I think I'll watch this.
Yeah, please do.
Sounds bonkers.
Oh my God, it's the best. Okay, so Dogma. It's been 30 years since Danish directors Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg started their movement Dogme-95, or in less ridiculous Danish, Dogma-95, which is what I'll be referring to it as. But what does that mean? Basically, it was a reaction against the overproduction, special effects, and the superficiality of big-budget Hollywood films. And what the movement wanted to do is bring filmmaking back to its basics in story and acting and theme by stripping away all the artifice and technology. The most well-known movies under this manifesto are von Trier's Idioterna, or The Idiots, and Vinterberg's Festen, otherwise known as The Celebration. We're screening those two, as well as 2 more, Open Hearts by Susanne Bier, starring Mads Mikkelsen.
You're nailing the Danish impression.
Thank you. and Italian for Beginners by Lynch, I assume.
That sounded half Italian and half Danish, that accent.
Because that's only because I said Italian 3 words before that. And also, I'm amazing at accents, and don't you ever doubt that. So, Elliot, I have the Dogma 95 rules here as a little checklist.
Tell me.
It has been referred to as the Dogma 95 vow of chastity. Okay, so shooting must be done on location with no added props or sets. Sound must never be produced apart from the images, so all the sound that happens has to happen in the moment.
That's good.
And I think, is it in Idiotino where they have like harmonica player just kind of like walking around?
Yeah.
To have like a little bit of music.
That's fine.
That is really funny. The camera must be handheld. The film must be in color with no special lighting. Optical work and filters are forbidden. The film must not contain superficial action, so there's no murders, no weapons, no like extreme things. It must take place here and now. Genre movies are not acceptable, so no vampires, no zombies. The film format must be Academy 35 millimeters, and the director must not be credited. Okay, what do we think about this movement?
I haven't seen any films from it, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah.
I think actually, if you may have seen that at Cannes Film Festival, a new group of Danish filmmakers announced their own manifesto called Dogma-25.
Love, tell me about it.
And it's kind of similar. And what about Dogma-25 is they simplified the filmmaking process, and they also tried to remove the use of internet and AI.
Great.
So any writing has to be done with pen and paper.
Hey,
Yeah, it's really
that.
fun. And then it's very similar to this of like, it has to be shot in the present moment, no special effects, no makeup, all this kind of stuff. And I think it tries to remind us of what filmmaking is.
Yes.
And that it should be a very easy thing to do, to just pick up a camera and go see what happens and be sort of taken by the method or the moment of making, rather than waiting on big budgets to come in, using special effects, all this kind of stuff that sort of makes it much more of a spectacle rather than a mode of creating something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely all for something that makes it very accessible for anybody to pick up a camera and film. Have you seen any of the Dogma 95
yeah,
films?
I saw the 2 big ones, the one and the 2.
The Idiot and
the Idiots and Festen. And you know, I have to say, it's not for me necessarily, but I really do see the value in it. And it's almost like, I see it almost like a juice cleanse or like a fasting, because like even Von Trier and Winterberg, they both abandoned the idea like pretty quickly. But it's also good to see what you can do with the things that you have. So I definitely do see the value in it. Also, I really appreciate what it inspired. Like when those 2 movies came out, they were so original, they were so new. I think there's a story of my spiritual father, Mark Kermode, at, I think, Cannes, where they screened it. And at the end, he got up and he was like, "This is shit, il est merde, il est merde." And then he was removed from the screening. And I do see where he was coming from, because the movies aren't necessarily enjoyable to watch in any way.
In any way.
In any way. Well, no, I guess there's something in there for someone, and I do appreciate parts of it. But I do like that you see filmmakers nowadays like a Sean Baker.
Yeah.
But also people taking elements
From it.
Like Succession, for example, is very much filmed in the style of The Celebration, where it's the quick pans and it's all like in the moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really think without this movement, we wouldn't have had Succession. And I don't want to live in that world. So it gave us that.
I think it's even just a good exercise for filmmakers to do, and I think it would make them better filmmakers. Not naming names, but Wes Anderson, maybe we can come on to.
Yeah, get on the Dogma.
But the idea of using what's in front of you and having to make something out of that, rather than having all these preformed ideas that you meticulously craft.
Totally. What I also find really funny about this movement is it must have, in that time, made movie making so much more accessible to, for example, film students.
Yeah.
And it's funny watching these movies because we associate them now. We look at them as like, oh, it looks like a student film.
Yeah.
But I think student films look like this because of these movies. They just showed you that you can just pick up a camera, get a bunch of people together, and you can do it for basically no budget.
Yeah.
And you can create something, you know, that is going to be renowned.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's a good thing.
I'm definitely going to be coming to watch The Idiots and Feston. I will try and practice my French so I can shout Il a mer after, but I'm looking forward to it for sure. But maybe we can talk about another director that's perhaps a bit more confined to their own.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps I'm not hiding my own opinions of
Your
the
bias.
film. Yeah. But yeah, should we talk about Wes Anderson, The Phoenician Scheme?
Okay, yes. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a big old chat about Wes Anderson's filmography on this podcast. Now it's time to talk about his latest release, The Phoenician Scheme. We're in the 1950s, and we have Benicio del Toro playing a swindler who wants his only daughter to be his successor. And his daughter is a nun played by Mia Thrapleton. And if you see her and you think, hey, I don't know who that is, but she looks kind of familiar, that's because that's Kate Winslet's daughter. And together they travel the world trying to secure investors, which gives you all these brief encounters with the likes of Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston, Scarlett Johansson, Jeffrey Wright, Richard Ayoade, and so many more, maybe too many more. We'll talk about it. And all the while they are accompanied by Michael Cera doing a fantastic Norwegian accent. And here's a clip from the movie.
I don't have a passport. Normal people want the basic human rights that accompany citizenship in any sovereign nation. I don't. My legal residence is a shack in Portugal. My official domicile is a hut on the Black Sea. My certificated abode is a lodge perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the sub-Saharan rainforest, accessible only by goat path. I don't live anywhere. I'm not a citizen at all. I don't need my human rights.
The Phoenician Scheme.
Let's see if I can be kind about this film.
You don't have to be, you know? Do we want to start with things we liked?
Yeah, because it's not very long.
Okay, well, yeah.
Richard Ayoade.
Always.
Really love.
And forever. Love of my life.
Okay, the one bit I liked is near the end where...
You liked when it ended?
The
Great, it's over.
We know Wes Anderson loves to put a camera on a tripod and it's all fixed shots. And then there's this moment where Benedict Cumberbatch is in a fight with his brother and then immediately the camera becomes a bit more free. And I'm like, oh, this is a bit more...
Dogma.
Yeah, exactly.
Very dogma coded, yeah.
She's trying something. I'm here for that. That was about it.
Okay.
Like you said, it's this Phoenician Scheme of him trying to relive his ultimate fantasy of this big money-making idea. I still wasn't even quite sure what on earth it was that they were trying to build.
No.
But in a very Wes Anderson style way, he sets the film up that it's going to be 5 acts. And then like from the start of that, I just feel like, oh, we're working our way through the end of these 5 acts.
Yeah. So I think, okay, so we immediately got to the what we didn't like list. So I'll move to what we didn't like. And I love that. And we can get to what I did like about it in a little bit. But, you know, we're following the natural flow of conversation. But yeah, so it's called The Phoenician Scheme. And honest to God, I couldn't explain to you what exactly the Phoenician Scheme is. It's a scheme. And the stakes are, I think, that if he doesn't get all these investors, then he is going to have to pay more money.
Yeah.
Are those the stakes?
It felt like it, yeah.
I don't know.
Whilst the big government is coming after him.
Yeah, big government's coming for him. And like, I feel like the premise was like, oh, if we don't get this money, we're going to have to use slavery. And my daughter, the nun, doesn't like slavery. Yeah. Okay. Like, so that all felt incredibly convoluted.
Yeah.
And the entire time I wasn't sure what we were doing. And the entire time I was like, hey, can we focus on actually the core that is there, where I think there could be a charming story about, again, Wes Anderson. We need to go to therapy maybe together, with a lying, weird, absent father. Not that I have an absent father. My father's lovely. But it's that story of like a father and daughter, which could have been, you know, there was something there that could have been really great. But we kept moving away from that so far that like I started thinking about, there's a part where they go like da-da-da-da-da, like 5 little stories. We go visit 5 little people to see if they sign on to give us money. Then I started thinking, wow, that whole Scarlett Johansson bit, like if that wasn't there, fine. But then I started thinking, that kind of goes for all the parts of the movie. Like you could take each and every part of it out.
It felt like 5 vignettes that he was trying to tie together just so that he could show you these
actors.
Yeah, and
it's
these
like,
sets.
Oh, fuck, we have Scarlett Johansson waiting in the wings. What do we do? Just give her a scene by the dam where we have to sign a contract.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because how else are we going to get all these A-list actors in? That really annoyed me because the whole time, like even when you have quite a fun scene with Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston playing basketball over a deal. But what I wanted to know was going on in the background, which is Liesl, the daughter, and Michael Cera having like a quite fun moment. And I was like, I want to see that. I don't care about these characters, or I don't know if I'm supposed to, because at that point you don't know that in 4 minutes you're just like never going to see them again. So that is something that we discussed a couple of weeks ago as well, where I feel like, God, it feels so exhausting to have to say style over substance once more.
Yeah. But I think he's just backed himself into a corner of like, he has to shoot everything in such a particular way that...
See, and I don't even mind the shooting part. I just think the story is lacking in every single way. He just needs, because he wrote this again with Roman Coppola.
Yeah.
I think, they might be lovely boys, but I think he needs a new writing partner.
Yeah.
Because it's missing heart and he just wants to do too much.
But my point is more that he tries to fit the story into the style rather than the style into the story.
Totally, especially with the actors.
Yeah. And so then if he came up with like an original idea, not that he doesn't come up with original ideas, but if he just came up with something that had a bit more heart, or I don't know what I was supposed to get out of this film.
No.
Like just a big rich guy deciding that slaves and famine is bad and that it's okay to live in austerity or in poverty.
Yeah, as long as you have family.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. I think it's trying to get to that in like a really roundabout way.
Yeah.
I have to say there were things I liked about it, and I will name some things that I did like about it. One thing is that it kind of reminded me of my life in a way, and that's going to sound really strange, but what I mean is that the entire time you're just like kind of having a nice time, and then you're like, wait, is this going anywhere? And I kind of feel that way about life in general. It's like, I'm having a nice time. Wait a minute. I'm like halfway through. What happened? That's kind of how I feel about it. I had a nice time almost the entire time. Every little vignette has fun things about it. Most of the actors are doing a great job. There's just nothing there. And one thing I also really did like is that within the first 30 seconds, someone gets blown into smithereens, which was a very surprising Wes Anderson thing. I don't think that's ever happened before. Please correct me if I'm wrong. In one of his movies, the first like 5 minutes are total chaos, and then it gives you this really nice opening sequence, which is like a shot from above, like Benicio del Toro's in a bathroom, and there's all these nurses walking around bringing him stuff, and there's some really fun little jokes in there, and that kind of like gives you time to land, which I feel in his most recent movies we haven't had time to land into the story. So that was something I liked.
It just felt like eye candy. Like, the feeling you get when you eat candy, you enjoy it at the time, but then after you're like, oh, maybe that was a bit too much.
I just gave Elliot a bunch of candy, by the way, in context. This is a real thing. He's drawing from life. Wow. Again, so dogma coded. Wow. One thing I also really, 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 I need to make a point of Michael Cera. I loved him in this. And I think it's a revelation to have Michael Cera in a Wes Anderson movie, because I think it's long overdue. I miss that little fucker. I miss him. And he's back on my screen and he's doing a great job. And he went through this phase, I feel like, where he was a teenager and he was cute. Yeah. And he was fun. And then Hollywood didn't really know what to do with him. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, this is maybe where I could see him. He's very funny. What'd you make of Cera?
I enjoyed him, but I think maybe we're going to come on to this anyway, but I think to let such actors shine, you don't need all these other actors thrown into it. Like, exactly. Like you said, if it's just about Michael Cera and Mia Rappleston, who, by the way, just needs to embrace her Nepo baby charges. Like, just call yourself Mia Winslet. Like, no one's going to care.
I don't know what her vibe is on that. I always love hearing Nepo babies talk about their Nepo baby status, because that to me tells me whether or not you're a good person. If you're just like, yeah, my dad's J.J. Abrams, that's why. But it's like, total sidebar. Kendall Jenner. I didn't think I was ever going to talk about Kendall Jenner on this podcast. But one thing that fucking grinds my gears is that this bitch says modeling was so much harder for me because of where I come from as a Kardashian. And I'm like, I want to, it's not a real threat, by the way, but I want to shoot her in the face. Maybe Mia should be Mia Winslet, but also you know, you can tell that she's her daughter.
Yeah. Actually, the heaven scenes I also enjoyed.
Me too. It's kind of Powell and Pressburger-esque.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A matter of life and death.
Yep.
It broke with the form of Wes Anderson film, a bit experimental for Wes Anderson with like
Black and white.
Yeah, and then like these weird montage cuts.
Yeah.
But again, Willem Dafoe, Bill Murray, they don't need to be there. Get them the fuck out.
Don't you ever tell Willem Dafoe to get the fuck out of anything.
But I think it's a disservice to Willem Dafoe to make him turn up. He has no lines pretty much, and he's just there because he's Willem Dafoe. Like this guy.
Yes, but that I don't even mind because it's like a really small part, and he's like a whatever angel of death or something, and then you're like, oh cool, that's fun, he's there. But I think the problem that I have is that this entire movie is constructed around, oh, we have Hanks and Cranston. What do we do with them for 13 minutes? We got to think of something to do with them. And that's my problem with it. It's like, I like little cameos here and there as long as they're on the fringe of the story and the story is strong.
Yeah, but my point is more that they're all such strong actors that they're better when they're given like something to really dig their teeth into rather than just turn up and say a few lines because they're that actor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
We are saying the same thing. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic about it because I did kind of have a good time the whole time.
Yeah.
But also it bums me the fuck out that it's, again, the same thing as his last, like, 4 movies where I'm like, well, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
One more thing I want to shout out about this for our Severance fans. Benedict Cumberbatch was serving up Keir Egan.
I don't know that reference.
But the people at home will know. And it was jarring, to say the least. I also like that it said filmed in Germany.
And Potsdam.
And Potsdam. And
why do you like that?
Because, Hollywood is in a dire state and movies need to be produced in America. Otherwise, we're going to have tariffs. And it just kind of goes to show that, like, yeah, all these filmmakers are coming to Europe because there's advantages to it. It looks better. And also there's tax advantages. And some motherfuckers now going, you know what? We're going to make it even harder for everyone. But honestly, I don't think those tariffs are really going to happen because he's a piece of shit.
Who, Wes Anderson or? For the film itself, as we were watching it with an audience in the cinema, there was no one like in stitches laughing or like, it just felt very mellow almost, like a little few giggles here and there. But
I described it to my friends in the group chat as like the basic smile emoji.
Yeah.
You know, that's just like, huh, that was nice, So yeah, but I wonder what everybody thinks because I've heard very mixed things about it. Visually, it's again very Wes Anderson-y, but I do like that it's a little bit more gray and serious and concrete walls, and it is a little bit different in that sense that it's not all pink and sweet.
The colors are drab.
The colors are drab. They're drab, my darling.
But I hope people let us know what they think as well, whether we're totally wrong about this or Wes Anderson needs to make. I was thinking how to solve the Wes Anderson problem. What if he made like a horror film, like just a very genre film, but in his style? I think that could be
interesting. Something
that just gives us a bit different, but still Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Because I also think like his color style or palette
I could see him do like a Knives Out style murder mystery or something. I think that would work really well with his style. But yeah, at the core, I just like, I mean, I'm repeating myself here, but I really think that his style of filmmaking only works when something dark balances it out. So like a grief or heartbreak or something real, like someone being suicidal or something like. It needs that for the levity to work, and this unfortunately doesn't have that. But still, you can go see it a couple times a day here at Lab 111. I advise you to do it because it's still at least the smiley emoji.
And if that doesn't get you into cinemas, I don't know what will.
I don't know what to tell you, kid. Then we have some more fun news. Elliot, what's your take on Twin Peaks?
Yeah, so I've never watched Twin Peaks. And I would like it to be filled in on this because often when I speak to people, they'll tell me it's their favorite TV show of all time. And I always think that's a big claim to make.
It is it's a big claim to make. So first of all, the news. On the 18th of June, here at Lab 111 in Amsterdam.
I thought you were going to do that as a weather report.
Good morning. It's June 18. 2022, and it's a Saturday. Here in LA, a cloudy morning, very still right now, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, around 16 Celsius.
On the 18th of June, here at Lab 111 in Amsterdam, we're going to have a party because Twin Peaks is going to be screening at our cinema. Twin Peaks is coming to Mubi, and to celebrate that, we're going to do the first 2 episodes in all of the rooms in our theater at the same time, and then we're going to have cherry pie, and then we're going to have a party. We're going to have the Black Lodge. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, the 2 episodes are screening in all 4 cinemas.
Yes, so plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
All the Twin Peaks fans, so
but
get your tickets.
For those that aren't fans, like myself, perhaps we probably get pushed to Lab 4, the tiny room, but maybe you could tell us what Twin Peaks is. Because obviously it's by David Lynch, but maybe people don't even know that it is by David Lynch.
So that's the first thing that is to know about Twin Peaks. So Twin Peaks is a show by David Lynch. Again, I'm so bad at describing things that are weird, the same just now with the rehearsal. Twin Peaks is basically an 80s soap opera, and it looks and feels like an 80s soap opera, and then it's made by David Lynch. So
in the 90s he made it, right?
It started in 1990, and basically it's about Agent Dale Cooper, who investigates the murder of Laura Palmer, who was a beautiful girl who lived in that town. And she was found, you know the image, wrapped in plastic, beautiful, she's blue. And then they got to figure out who did it. And they do that over the course of 2 seasons?
Yeah.
3 seasons. 3 seasons. Where it just progressively gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And it's so tonally so strange that it just like feels ominous the whole time, but it just feels like you're watching an 80s soap opera with like the jocks and the hot girls and the cool girls and the guy and the doctor and the sheriff and the then it just gradually gets really weird.
When people talk to me about this TV series, I always have in the mind that it's probably somewhere between Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive. Would that be fair to say? Or
I
is
think
it
it's
even
a lot more accessible than Mulholland Drive, at least. Have you seen any of the Twin Peaks movies that came out, like, or the Fire Walk with Me and stuff, the ones that are kind of live in that universe? I'm excited for you because it's really fun. It is maybe a great occasion now that it's coming to Mubi to like get some friends together and do maybe like a weekly, which is something that my friends have been doing for a little bit, and sometimes I'll just like drop in and kind of like watch 1 or 2 episodes with them. It's fun. Everyone's really hot in it, which, you know, is very important to me always. Agent Dale Cooper.
Who's that played by?
That's Kyle MacLachlan in his prime. And then you have Sherilyn Fenn, Lara Flynn Boyle. They all have really weird names, I realize now that I'm all saying them. We have Machen Amick, David Duchovny. Yeah, turns out they all have really weird names, and I just never really realized that.
Sounds like they all come from that tiny small place that it's set in.
Yeah.
But would you say it's one of the best TV shows of all time?
Yes, in a way. It's not one of my personal favorites, I think. I think it's really good, and I do understand its place and time. I just don't know. Kind of same with the Dogma movies. I don't know if I always find it enjoyable to watch, but it is really fucking cool.
But what makes it cool? Just the style of it.
Yeah, because it was so different. Like in that time, you have to understand. Like David Lynch was known for doing, you know, Eraserhead and like the really weird stuff, and then he just came out with this show that, you know, at first glance just looks like a really normal show.
Yeah.
And that's like a major troll, and I love that.
And is it fair to say, because obviously now TV series have become its own thing of like, they're almost blockbusters in a way. But back then, that perhaps David Lynch was kind of ahead of the curve of working in TV.
Totally. Yeah, and you have to imagine that like back in the 90s, this just like was like one episode a week and it was on television.
What's that?
So we had a thing. Okay, so Elliot's young. We had a thing called linear television, and that means that a show would be on at a certain time, and you couldn't choose when to start and stop. I understand this is shocking information for you. I was exactly 1 year old when this came out, so I wasn't around for that. But I do hear stories from people who were like, yeah, it's like you woke up and then the babysitter was watching Twin Peaks and they would let you watch it with them. And it was really fucking crazy. And it's like, kind of wish that I would have been around not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And then it just like spiraling into this weird, Bob haunts my nightmares. Wow, I'm just going through the cast. Is Michael Cera's in it? Oh, of course. No, never mind. He was in the return, the second part. I was like, okay, yes. Obviously, I remember the reboot. Yeah, so many, many, many years later, they did a reboot, and I think that's one of the very few successful reboots of a TV show, because it was cool. But yeah, it's all coming to movie, come to a party. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, right. You can find tickets in the show notes for sure.
As always. Thank you for listening, and if you want to hear more about Wes Anderson, make sure to check out the episode we just did on that a couple weeks ago. We also have a bunch of fun episodes coming up. So, hey, if you want, maybe subscribe to the podcast, or maybe leave us a review and tell us how much you love us and stuff. That would really help. We're going to be doing episodes about zombies in light of the release of 28 Years Later. And we're going to do a big one about Kurosawa. So be on the lookout for those.
Stay connected with us at Celebrating Cinema and Lab by following @Lab111 on Instagram and Letterboxd. If you love what we do, support us by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us climb the ranks of the podcast charts. And don't forget to check the show notes for all the films mentioned, bonus info, and ticket links. This was a Lab 111 production, edited and produced by Elliot Bloom, with music from Hugo Emertzal and artwork from Studio FFF.